Okay, wait. I love this song. She wants. Thank you, Sheila E. and KBLX, for giving me that little boost of energy because I was leaving. I just left work and I was so tired. And I knew that I was going to do this Mad Men review because it's the finale. I have to, right? So thank you, KBLX. Let's get into the season 6 finale for Mad Men. First of all, the season I thought was really, really good. It started off a little bit slow, but by the third, fourth episode, I was really, really into it. The season finale was great. I really loved it all the way through. And then the end came, and I was just kind of like, that gives me something to think about. And I think I figured it out, which isn't very, hard to figure out anyway. But so at the end, I'm going to get into all the other details and stuff, but I just want to say at the end, Don Draper took his kids to the whorehouse that he was raised in. And then, cuts to credits. So what I feel like that, is sort of meaning, and maybe I should say this later, but whatever. But what I think that was meaning was that Don is finally ready to, embrace who he really is and, cut out the duality of his life because maybe he's just realizing that this duality is what's causing him to be so unhappy and just so, there's a word for it. Anyway, so, it leaves us again with this sort of, will Don Draper change? Is Don Draper going to be a better man? I don't think so, but let's get into the episode. Let's start off with Ted, Shaw, and Peggy. Because, I'm sorry, I like Peggy and everything, but you know what? She got exactly what she was asking for. There's been this whole Ted, Peggy thing going on, and it really came to a head last week. And Ted's wife and his kids were in the office, and she was just all seething and mad and everything. So was it the next day or that same day she decided to, show all her cleave and wear this sort of, kind of slutty outfit. I mean, slutty for the 60s, I would imagine. Definitely slutty for a workplace. So she, wears this little outfit. She gussies herself up and she comes into Ted's office and is like, oh, I'm leaving, just to entice him. And he comes to her home afterwards. He's waiting for her and he says, I love you, and they have sex, and he's basically saying, I'm gonna leave my wife, I don't want to sneak around, I promise you that, we're not gonna have to sneak around. And she's like, oh, whatever, take your time, I'm patient. And so he goes home that night, and he comes home to a loving, beautiful wife who, snuggles up with him, who's, had been waiting up for him, and, he has 2 beautiful kids, and he has his family set that, they don't deserve it. They don't deserve to have their family ruined because of him. So, dang, I shouldn't have talked about that first because I have to explain a little something else. We know that the agency got the Sunkissed account, and they want one person to, set up shop in California. Now, at the beginning of the episode, Stan, who I think we all like, but I think needs to shave a little bit. It's that whole area is getting a little bit too much, but everybody likes Stan, right? So he talks to Don, and he's like, I want to be the one to go to LA. And he gives him this big spiel about, setting up an agency for one desk. And, he's basically saying all these things. And Don is basically, trying to talk him out of it. Like, oh, it's a demotion. And you think it's a promotion, but no, bruh. And then what do you know? At the end of the day, Don puts himself up to go to California. Asshole. So he tells Megan, and Megan's all excited about it and everything because, she's like, I've been getting offers, for LA, but I didn't think that you would want to go. So I, turned them down. But this is great. This is awesome. We'll have a new start. So, yeah. So after Ted fucks Peggy and goes back to his wife, he, really has some remorse about it because he's a good guy. Like, I still believe he's a good guy, and Don doesn't want to see that. And isn't it funny how I'm saying he's a good guy, and earlier in the seasons, in my recaps, I was saying that he was gonna be some kind of menacing threat to Peggy. He turned out to be a good guy, and I like Ted Shaw. Anyway, Ted goes to Don and tells him that he wants to go to LA, and he's upfront and honest. He wants to go to LA to save his family and separate himself from Peggy. So he tells Peggy that, he's going to, well, I don't know. Does Don initially agree with it? I don't think so. But anyway, Don initially agrees with it. I'm so sorry, you guys. Ted tells Peggy that, this isn't going to be a good situation. I have to remove myself from the situation. And she gets pissed. Now, here's my whole take on the Peggy thing.
Close your legs to married men. You heard me? Close your legs to married men. Wow.
That's my whole thing with Peggy. I can understand her, really catching feelings with this guy. He's a nice dude. He is obviously, like, into her mind and into her as just a person. And it's not necessarily like, oh, she's sexy or, oh, she's easy to screw or anything. You could definitely tell that Ted has a respect for her as a person. I think that she really digs somebody that really takes her as a serious businesswoman, as a smart woman, and respects that. So I can understand how she kind of fell all head over heels in love with Ted. But he's married. And instead of getting jealous and, like, retaliating, why doesn't she just, let it go? Let it go. So in her retaliation, that was the stupidest thing she could have ever did to me, because she, put herself out there in a sexual way to him, which maybe he probably never even looked at her like that. And that definitely probably turned him on and was just giving him the inkling that, okay, she wants me. It's about to go down. And it did. But, like, Peggy, why did you give it up to him? I can understand lust and all that stuff, but I don't know. I didn't like that situation at all, and I really like Peggy, but I just think that she was stupid to really, try to pursue and catch feelings for a married guy and a good guy. It's not like it was Don who's cheating all the time on his wife. He's a good dude, and you just want to ruin. You want to be a homewrecker, and I wasn't feeling Peggy, and I didn't have any sympathy for her in this episode because that she got what she asked for. She allowed herself to be a tart, so I had hardly any respect for her. Let's go to Bob Benson, which was kind of, I don't know. I just think that I still am a little bit disappointed how they set him up this whole season, and there wasn't much of a payoff still. Now, Pete Campbell's mom, well, at the beginning she was missing. They said that she fell off a cruise boat, or boat cruise. What do you call those? So she, and then, okay, so she, she's missing. She went on a cruise, and they think that she fell overboard. And, with further investigation, they find out that Manolo, the nurse guy, married her. And so, Pete, as any, logical person would think, is thinking that, he married her and killed her for the money. Not too far-fetched, in my opinion. But, he talks to Bob. He's pissed off, understandably. And, Bob is just basically, playing the role of, oh, I didn't know any of that was going to happen. I didn't know anything about that. So, it's still kind of iffy if that was their plan overall, because if you think back, he did say about that thing about, I don't care how nice she is, let's get this over with, or something like that. So it does seem like maybe there was a plot to kill her and get all her money. But when Pete and his brother Bud were on a phone call, basically they said that I guess the mother didn't have a lot of money anyway. So he really wanted Pete really wanted to catch Manolo, or gather all the evidence to prove that Manolo killed her. But when they said no expense spared, and he looked at his brother and he was like, okay, what are the expenses? And I guess basically they figured out it was going to cost a lot of money to investigate and everything, so they wanted to just let it go because it wasn't gonna help anything, and plus he wasn't gonna get that much money. Maybe he thought that there was gonna be a lot more money, but anyway. Funny thing that happened to Pete, I felt kind of bad for him actually, but Bob Benson set him up. They were at the Chevy place, and Bob Benson made a comment about one of the cars, and it kind of egged Pete on to drive it in the lot, and we know Pete can't drive, so that got him off the account. I don't know if he quit or if they just put him off the account because they didn't want a guy who didn't know how to drive to represent a car company. So that was kind of funny. But the great thing about Pete that happened, or he went to talk to Trudy, and she was just kind of like, you know what, you're free now. He doesn't have either parent, and it kind of goes back to what I was saying about Pete and how he basically feels trapped in this stigma of who he's supposed to be, and that's probably because of his parents and everything. So he's free now, and I hope that will give him the motivation to kind of seek out something that's really going to make him happy, because he still hasn't been happy this entire season. But I still like Pete. Isn't it weird that I really like Pete and I just despise Don? I don't know. I just actually feel sorry for Pete, and I think that he's funny as a character. So, yeah. What else? So, we talked about Don a little bit. Let's get into his fuck up. Hershey wanted to come in, and for whatever reason, Don hated the idea at first, but then they said something about Ted, and he all of a sudden, oh, I love Hershey. So Don pictures this thing about how he, used to mow the lawn for his dad, and he would always be, his compensation was a Hershey bar, and how he loved it, and how it made him feel, and how it was childhood and a rapper and all this stuff. They loved it. They loved the thing, and then he shakes his hand, and all of a sudden he just reveals the truth that he was born in a whorehouse. I mean, that he was raised in a whorehouse, and that there was this whore that he had to deal with. That when the whore was at her job, he would go through the John's pockets, and his reward from the whore was a Hershey bar, and it was supposed to be sweet, and that was the only sweet part in his life. And it just made everybody like so awkward, and the result was that he is going to be put on a suspension for a couple of months. And I don't know, that's another thing that just pisses me off about Don. Like, when he left the little meeting, and yeah, they ambushed him, whatever, but you did fuck up, and you know it. So when they ambushed him, and they were actually really gracious, because I think that and his other questionable behavior this season, I don't know, he should have been fired. I guess it's different if you're a partner, you can't just fire somebody. But anyway, he was leaving the meeting, and he was just so pissed. How dare they? It's like, it's understandable what they're doing, right? Why can't you see it from their side, is what my whole thing was. And then that's when he picked up Sally and the kids and went to the whorehouse. What I really wish was made more definitive and not a cliffhanger was Megan. I love Megan. I just think that she's so cool, and I've loved Megan ever since that one episode where they went out of town and he was being a bossy asshole, and then she left him. I mean, she left. She went back home, but I have loved her ever since then because she is one of those women that's just not gonna take his shit. And I'm doing hell of hand movements today. I don't know why. But so when Don came home and told her that they weren't going to be moving to LA after all, and it was the agency's decision, she saw right through that, and she was very, very pissed. And she was talking like she wanted to end the relationship, right? And I was like, yeah, 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 yeah. But at the end, she just left it. She just walked out the door. I can't think about this right now. So it kind of leaves it open. I really wish that there was a definitive thing like, I don't want to be with you anymore, Don Draper. I wish that had happened. And, but I'm pretty sure that she's going to end up leaving him because if she has opportunities in LA and acting is really what she loves, then I don't see any reason why she would stay, to be honest. Especially if she has like auditions and stuff already lined up. I just love Megan so much that I don't want her to like ruin her life with him for the rest of her life. You know what I mean? Like she's a real person. And then Joan had a little bit of a thing. Roger Sterling's daughter has like always hated him as long as the show has been on, and I honestly didn't even really understand what was going on there. His secretary said something to Joan about they're really gouging him, but the daughter made it seem like you're taking money out of our pockets and you're taking food out of our mouths. So I don't know. I didn't understand that whole situation, and it went so quick that I didn't even really need to. But basically, the Roger Sterling's secretary was talking to Joan and was like, "Oh, I would invite him over my house for Thanksgiving, but blah 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 blah." So Joan, kind of had a heart and invited him to Thanksgiving, to get to know his son. Now, I have a question for you Mad Men watchers. What happened to Joan's husband? Didn't he die? Because I remember there was an episode where he came back and she was all excited, but then he was saying that he wanted to go back into the war to help people and he wanted to be a good man. And she basically said one of my favorite lines ever. You haven't been a good man. I'm not going to quote it, but, when she alluded to the rape incident when they first started dating, which was I kind of wish that I was doing the YouTube videos back then because I had a lot of thoughts about that situation and how she could take him back, but it was that's the thing that I love about this show. You have to think in the times. And anyway, so my question is, did he die? Because I think, from what I remember, she told him to go back, and he went back, and I think a couple weeks later, it was reported that he was dead. But I'm not sure about that. Because also, I remember when she had that total bitch out on that secretary, and it was basically he served her papers for divorce. So what's going on with that guy? Is he still alive or what? I don't know. You guys let me know, please, in the comments. So Joan, Roger, Joan's mom, and Bob Benson and Kevin were having Thanksgiving together. Do I want to say anything else about anybody else? Roger Sterling is, jealous of Bob Benson, but we know that Bob Benson is not playing for that team, okay? And so, yeah, Bob Benson, I just really don't think that they, paid off of all the mystery and creep surrounding him this whole season. But the only way that they can make it up to me is I need him to have like a hot, steamy sex scene on the season premiere of season 7. And, I don't know. I think that I'm done, you guys. What I loved about this season is there wasn't enough Joan, I have to say. There wasn't enough Betty, who I love, but there wasn't really much for Betty to really do. I still love her, but I think that you love her more when you feel sorry for her, and we felt sorry for her when she was with Don, and we're you know, she's in a good place with her marriage and her family and everything, and so, you know, we applaud her. We don't need to see her all the time. Sally, I'm kind of happy that she got to see her dad for the scumbag that he is, and maybe that'll help her with her mother and that whole situation. But it looks like from the look that she gave her dad when he revealed about the whorehouse that she kind of is going to get a little bit more respect for him. And I think that might be his whole aim. Now, what I was going to say in this recap is just all over the place, and I'm very, very sorry. When Ted came to Don asking him to allow him to go to LA, I think that really touched Don in the way that this was me first season. You remember when he was with that the owner or the daughter of the owner of that department store, and he, you know, was all gaga for her, and he wanted to just leave, and she was like, well, you know, it's not realistic to just run away. So I kind of take him, you know, being gracious and allowing Ted to go to LA as sort of like, you know, I understand why you want to run away, and I'm going to give you this chance to run away, while I'm not going to run away for once in my life. I'm going to really stick to what it is, and I'm going to, you know, embrace the real him. And I think that's interesting stuff for a season finale. For season 7, what do you guys think? I don't know if it'll really change him, but I think it's a necessary thing that he should be doing, because he's in his 40s, and you know, he's been living this dual life, and it's just breaking him. So I don't know. I don't feel right ending it like this, but I think that's all I have to say. Great season. Just great show. Just great show. I really love this show. And this is, like I said on my first review, this is the first season where I watched it week to week. And, you know, it holds up just as much as it did when I was watching them back to back. So, just a great show. Oh, one thing I did want to say was Dawn, his secretary, it was kind of weird to me that about season episode 2 through 4, they were kind of getting into her life a little bit, and then after a while we barely even saw her. There would be episodes where, you know, he would mention her, but we didn't see her. So I don't know, I think that was a little bit weird to introduce her and then not have a payoff. And you know, there's always season 7 since Don is staying put. I'm gonna miss Ted, though. I actually am gonna miss Ted. I really, you know, because he is a good guy. And a couple weeks ago, was it last week, where Don kind of, he's not noble. He's not, you know, basically like you know, the juxtaposition of the two really bothered him, because you know, he saw that people respected him and liked him, and he was a overall good guy. He was respectful, he was nice, he wasn't a complete asshole. And I think that was really the odds. That was really what, you know, what bothered Don about Ted, was that he was like the polar opposite of him, but was able to still kind of get the same things done. Actually, Ted actually did more work than Don, so, you know, Ted was actually more effective in that way. So, what was I talking about? Should I just end this? I feel weird just to end this, because this is like an end of the season, and this is the end of me talking about Mad Men. It's very sad, but 2014, come on. This is gonna take forever. I know it's gonna take forever for the next season to come on. But I am done, and I love all of you guys that have been watching. Mike, are you watching? Hey Mike. Go follow Mike. I'm gonna put his Twitter on here. because Mike is a cool dude that I met in LA like 2 years ago, and he always retweets my Mad Men videos, and I appreciate you, buddy. Well, I don't want to stop talking about Mad Men. Okay, that's it. If I forgot something, I'm sorry. Maybe next season I'll actually do notes. But oh, okay, bye. I guess this is it. Bye. And thank you, Matthew Weiner, for another great season.